week long, we've been giving you decorating tips for Christmas, the tree, the wreath, and the table. Now, today, if you're especially ambitious, you might want to spice up your house a bit by baking your very own gingerbread house. And joining us right now in Ossining, New York, is Joanne Hayes, the food editor of Country Living magazine. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been at this for 25 years. Most of us have not. Where do you start?
The first thing to do is get a good gingerbread dough recipe. You can use most of the recipes that you would use for any kind of gingerbread dough that you roll out. I like to take the baking powder or baking soda out of the recipe. This way it doesn't spread so much when you bake it, and the pieces stay the size that you want them to be. The next thing you need to do is to make some paper patterns.
These are just out of paper bags? Or?
Just use some brown paper, some wrapping paper, or anything at all. You can also make them out of wax paper. You can use a design that's in a magazine, or you can make your own. If you have a dollhouse at home, it's good to draw the patterns around that, and then you have something that's familiar to you. A good basic shape to make for an easy house is a 5x8 rectangle, and then you use the side pieces like this, and for the end, you make it in this direction, fold it in half, and cut a diagonal, and then you have the point of your house like this.
My kind of house. It doesn't sound too difficult.
The next thing you do is to take the paper patterns and put them on your piece of gingerbread. You trace around it and trace out the windows. I won't do all of these.
Do you get to eat the dough once you cut the windows out?
Yeah, that's not such bad dough to eat. It's better when it's baked.
Then you bake it.
Okay, and we've put this on a piece of foil, and it's going to be baked right on the foil. This way you don't have to move the piece, and that it doesn't change its shape that way too much. You peel all the excess pieces off. I won't bother to do it right now, but if this were going into the oven next, you'd have it sitting there all by itself. When it comes out of the oven, the next important thing to do is to put the pattern back on it that you had cut it from, and check to see that its edges are the same as they were
so that it
at the beginning. Now, this particular dough doesn't spread too much, but if you have one that does, it's important that it's exactly the same size, otherwise it won't fit your house.
So you got your doors now. How do you build a house?
Okay, we have this house started pretty much, and we're using royal frosting here for the glue. This is made of egg whites and confectioner's sugar. You can find a recipe in most cookbooks.
The only glue you can eat and
right.
not get in trouble for it. Not bad.
Okay.
Sweet.
And you just put these pieces on.
All right.
And I like to tie it with a ribbon.
I'm going to put part of the roof on
so that we don't have to stand here and hold it all the time. You can keep the ribbon on it for about 15 minutes and then take it off and it'll be stuck. Otherwise, you'd have to hold it, or you can prop it up with boxes. The same thing with the roof piece. You can prop a box underneath it so it doesn't slide, and you can go ahead and do something else. And on this particular house, we have started a little chimney, which you'll see
we'll see that a little bit later on.
The chimney will eventually go all the way up, but because of the weight of the icing and the nuts, you can only do a little bit at a time. And I did one start of it, and you just pipe on another little puff of frosting, and then we have some nuts and candy, and you just tuck those in, and you have what looks like a fireplace on the outside.
That's not too hard either. Give us a sense of how much time it would take you to get to this point where we are right now.
To get where we are right now, probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours, if you're doing it right straight through. You might want to do it on a weekend and do the dough and the patterns and the cardboard frame first.
Do a little at a time.
The next day, bake and assemble it.
Now, you've spent a lot more hours than that for us this morning, and here's what you ended up with. It's really quite spectacular. Describe to us what we're looking at.
This is a gingerbread farm. This appeared in Country Living a few years ago. We have a shed, a barn, a silo, a corn crib, and the little house that we've been working on here. We also have some animals. To make the animals stand up, you bake a lot of cookies, like we have the two little bunnies here, and you can use just cookie cutters. We're going to do them in the same direction because of using cookie cutters, you can't do backs. And don't push them too tight. Because
you can tell I would not be very good at this.
The puff of frosting and the space in between it is what makes it possible for it to stand up. And then
that's why you're doing this, not me.
It'll stand for a while anyway.
Well, thanks for the lesson. We appreciate having
and then as a final touch, you can dust it with some confectioner's sugar. looks like snow.
So even a neophyte can dust it with the snow. Joanne Hayes, thanks for joining us this morning. It's been nice to have your colleagues with us all week long.
Thank you.
Have a happy holiday. And if you'd like more information on all sorts of different Christmas ideas, Country Living has a new book out, Country Living's Country Christmas. You may want to check it out. Harry?